Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing why you should read the THEMIS Files by Sylvain Nuevel. But before we go ahead and get on into the video, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box below for links to all of my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning book giveaways. A girl named Rose is riding her new bike near her home in Deadwood, South Dakota, when she falls through the earth and into the palm of a giant metal hand. 17 years later, the mystery of the bizarre artifact remains unsolved, its origins, architects, and purpose still unknown. Rose Franklin, now a highly trained physicist, leads a top-secret team determined to crack the hand's code, while powerful forces with uncertain motives close in, demanding answers about the relic and what it portends for humanity. But once the pieces of the puzzle are in place, will the result prove to be an instrument of lasting peace or a weapon of mass destruction? The THEMIS Files is an adult science fiction trilogy, and it includes the books Sleeping Giants, Waking Gods, and Only Human. In this video, I'm just going to be talking about the reasons that I enjoyed this trilogy, why I think you should read it if you are a science fiction reader or if you're someone who is looking to get into sci-fi, because in my opinion, this is a great starting point for getting into adult sci-fi. The main premise of the THEMIS Files is we start by following a woman named Rose, and when she is really young, she falls kind of like into a crack in the earth and lands in this giant robotic hand. And the government of the United States does not know where the heck this robot came from. Is it even of Earth origin, or is it from alien origin? How old is it? How did it get there? And then we fast forward about 2 decades, and we're following Rose, who is now a physicist, and she is working on a team that is investigating still this robot that they have named THEMIS. This is a multi-perspective story, and the way that it is set up is a little bit different than normal narratives. This book, or this trilogy, is written in interview format for most of the story. There are journal entries and like diary entries here and there, but it is definitely mostly interview format. So we have a character who is interviewing all of these other characters, and I think of him kind of as like the person that ties the story together. And then we're getting his interviews with Rose and his interviews with a person named Victor, and so on and so forth, all the people that are on this team working to figure out more about THEMIS. And at first I didn't know what to expect because I've never read a book that was written in interview format, but it actually worked really well, and I listened to part of all of these books on audiobook, and the audiobook is great. It has a full cast and the voice actors are awesome. So definitely some of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to. But just don't be put off, in my personal opinion, by the format of the books, because you still get a very full fleshed out story. You still get great character development. You still get a great connection with the characters, because even though this trilogy is written mostly in dialogue, I personally found that that did not detract from my enjoyment of the story, my understanding of what was going on, the characters, feeling for the different things they were going through in the different situations. So I personally really enjoyed the format. Some of the reasons that I like this book was definitely the character interactions. So you have a team that is working on THEMIS, and this team becomes very, very close because the duration of this trilogy is over like 20 years. So all of these characters have time to know one another, trust one another, because they're the only ones that are, working on like this secret project. And just their relationship dynamics were really well done. There is even a romance. And I thought Sylvain Nuevel did a really good job with showing how these relationships went through challenges over the course of 2 decades and were still able to remain trusting and strong. Then I enjoyed how each book kind of addresses a different, I don't want to say theme, but maybe motif would be the right word. So in the first book, Sleeping Giants, I would say that it's very, very sci-fi heavy. We are introduced to this alien robot. Our characters are studying this robot. They're trying to figure out how it works. We are learning about the different types of materials that THEMIS is made out of. We have a geneticist who is trying to figure out how genetics plays into operating this robot. There is a linguist brought on because there are these signs or symbols inside of THEMIS that the team thinks a linguist might be able to help translate. And basically, it just follows this team as they are analyzing this alien product. So definitely book 1, I think, has the most sci-fi heavy aspects, but it was still very approachable for someone who is not really into heavy sci-fi. This trilogy also has a lot of geopolitical intrigue because you have this robot, but then other robots are discovered at different parts of the world, and these robots can travel to different parts of the world very quickly. So you have all of the governments start wondering if they can use these robots as weapons of mass destruction, and that kind of adds a lot of tension to an already tense kind of political environment. So in addition to the science, and in addition to the character development and the relationship dynamics, you do have a lot of politics and geopolitical intrigue, which I thought was really well done. Book 2, Waking Gods, definitely focuses, in my opinion, mostly on the action. I really enjoyed book 2. I thought it was an excellent middle book in a trilogy. And then we have book 3, which is definitely my least favorite book. So in book 3, we deal mostly with relationship dynamics, family dynamics. And for a sci-fi series, that's just not what I was expecting, and that's not what I wanted. Yes, there was still sci-fi in there, but that wasn't, in my opinion, the focus of the book. It was way more about parent-child relationships. Another thing I liked about this trilogy is that the majority of the setting took place on Earth. And if you think about heavy sci-fi, you might think space opera or different planets, but this definitely took place on Earth for the majority. I don't want to go into spoilers, but there is a part of one of the books that does address an outer space type of setting, but definitely that is not the main focus. So if you're someone who is looking for more Earth-centered sci-fi, then this is definitely a go-to trilogy. If you're someone who likes, space travel and going to different planets, this might not work for you. I personally really liked the parts of the book that addressed the outer space aspect and dealing with alien beings aspect. I wish that had been more of a focus in the book. I felt like the time spent in that setting was not used to the full capacity that it could have been used to, and how the author chose to use it really worked with book 3, but because I really didn't like book 3 in its entirety, I was disappointed. I really would have liked more of an exploration into alien life, alien species, different planets, and that just wasn't provided. Another thing I like about this trilogy is how fast-paced and short and quick it is. So if you're someone who, like I said, just getting into sci-fi, you don't want to be bogged down, this is another advantage. Each one of these books is only a little bit over 300 pages. And because they are written entirely in dialogue, they are so quick to get through. So you get a full story, full character development in a short and quick trilogy. All in all, I definitely recommend the THEMIS Files. I gave Sleeping Giants and Waking Gods both 5 stars, and I gave Only Human 3 stars. I still think Only Human was a good finale. It definitely wrapped up the trilogy really well. I personally just was looking for something different out of it than it delivered, but it's not like it didn't tie up the loose ends that were introduced in the first 2 books. It did that. It did what it was supposed to do. I just didn't care about the relationship dynamics that were explored in the 3rd book. However, that might not bother you as a reader. So I definitely recommend the THEMIS Files, whether you are a seasoned sci-fi reader, if you are a new sci-fi reader. It's multi-POV, it's really fast-paced, it's written in interview format, it's got an Earth setting, it does have hard sci-fi elements, it deals with alien species, alien presence, alien life, and we do have a part of the book that deals with space exploration. And we also have a ton of relationships, father-daughter relationships, friend, coworker relationships, romantic relationships, and we have a lot of political intrigue as well. So a lot goes on in this trilogy that is very short and quick to get through. Okay, you guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you have read the THEMIS Files or if you have any good sci-fi recommendations, and I will see y'all soon in another video. Goodbye.